Hey guys, hi Lance. Thank you for having me. GBF, thank you for listening. Today I want to talk to you about something, like about this guy. I call him Nip, but Nippy. I call him Nippy. Oh my God, I can't even think of his name right now. Um, Hustler, who just got killed. I just lost my train of thought, like completely lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. Anyway, so the community activist who was just killed, okay? Um, and I want to talk to him in terms of the Christ consciousness. Now listen carefully. I am not teaching the Bible, and I am not teaching Caesar Borgia, the Pleiadians, okay, blondie and blue-eyed Jesus. I am not speaking about Jesus. I'm speaking about the Christ consciousness. And since he was killed, allegedly, by this guy named Eric Holder, okay, the topic of should black people, when they start doing well, leave the black community. Now, this is a hotbed topic. I am not a street person, okay? I'm not from the hood. Let me make that clear. I don't know hood mentality because I never grew up in the hood. But listening to how this guy, this one banger, he used to be a banger when he was young. Or in the Caribbean, they call it, shot caller. When he was young. And he grew up and he evolved out of that into becoming a Christ consciousness. Okay? What is the Christ consciousness? It's always what I teach black people. Okay? Which is there are dual natures inside of a person. Okay? And every day, because you live in certain social constructs, it depends on what you decide to do with your dual nature. These controllers, the intergalactic cosmic snakes, they know this because they study humanity, and for some reason they really study black people. So this banger, when he was young, he was part of the whole gang culture. I am not, and I will not, talk about the gang culture. This is not my background, okay? What I'm saying is these kids make short-term decisions. So when he was younger, because of the environment he grew up in, he participated in the banger culture, shot caller. As he began to become successful, okay, he still had his affiliation, but he became Christ consciousness. And he began to evolve into a Christ consciousness. As he got money, he was one of the few who evolved into a Christ consciousness. What does that mean? He saw where he grew up differently. He saw the potential of the people in his community differently because now he had access to wealth, access to money, access to power. And unlike so many, this is why I looked at his soul. And I personally am speaking to his soul to rise up from the grave because his work is not done. Okay? Everybody's saying rest in peace. I'm like, no, brother. No, you got work to do. Rest in peace, my foot. I'm speaking to his soul to raise up from the grave because his work is not done. This Christ consciousness that was taken out by a MK Ultra super soldier. And I'm gonna explain to you what MK Ultra super soldiers are later. A black MK Ultra super soldier, because that's big in California. Everywhere you see gangs, you gotta understand. Gangs are programmed super soldiers. They don't realize it, but that's what they are. And most black people don't even know what super soldiers are. So I'm going to tell you, go to YouTube and type in super soldiers. Okay? Under the Nazis, it was called Ubermensch. Ubermensch. But they programmed the white super soldiers differently from the way they programmed the black super soldiers. The Muslims have super soldiers. They call them Al-Qaeda. They call them the Mujahideen. They call them ISIS. They call them Boko Haram. They're all super soldiers. Okay? All of them. And that includes the black gang. Okay? Go to YouTube, type in super soldiers, and really spend time, spend a week. The stories are going to sound outrageous. But trust me, it's very real. And when you discipline yourself and you study super soldiers, go back and look at how that, I call him Nip Hussle, because he reminds me of a nip, you know? Someone dear, someone, he overcame his fallen state and he evolved into a Christ consciousness. Doesn't mean he was perfect, no. Okay? But he evolved into a Christ consciousness. I call him Nip as someone dear, someone close to people's heart, like a nip. You know, like a baby you want to hold and hug and love. And without saying too much, when I look at this situation, I said, he's one of the few celebrities. I never cry over celebrities dying. But for some reason, as I look at him and I looked at his soul, he grieves me. His death grieves me. When you hear about celebrity death, it doesn't faze me. But this one grieves me. And I said to myself, I said, I'm not from the street. I'm not from California. Okay? California to me, when I look spiritual at California to me, the lizards walk around California in human form. I mean, that state is just lizard territory. Lizard and Nazi territory. Spiritually, I'm telling you. Anyway, and as I look at his soul, I'm grieved. And I never grieve over street stuff. Never. And I said to myself, why am I grieving deep in my soul for this guy? Never met him. Don't follow street culture. Do not like gangster rap music. Don't like street culture. Don't like street code. And as I began reading his soul, I said, oh my God, he evolved. He evolved into the Christ consciousness. And many are saying, oh, it points a light on the part of the black community. And people are saying it's the whole black community. And I want to show you something. Many are saying, should successful black people leave the hood when they become successful? And I say this to them. I said Michael Jackson wasn't from the hood. And Michael Jackson was murdered behind pearly gates. As soon as I'm having a conversation, everyone drives by with loud music. Whitney Houston wasn't from the hood and died and was killed in a luxury hotel. Okay? Prince wasn't from the hood and murdered behind the pearly gate inside of an elevator. Should Michael Jackson have left the Hills, Beverly Hills, because he was murdered? Should Whitney Houston have left the Hills because she was murdered in the Hills? Should Prince have left the pearly gates of his estate because that's where he was murdered? And yet people are saying, when you become wealthy and successful, you should leave the hood. And here's what I have to say to them. I said, when you study, not that I'm telling anyone join Christianity. I think that is a book of occult and witchcraft and so. But just look at the Christ, the Jesus Christ. Okay, there have been many Christs throughout history, all of whom they murdered. But let's look at the archetype of that Jesus entity. Who killed Jesus? Everyone would say Judas. Judas never struck a blow to kill Jesus. All Judas did was take the 30 shekels to sell his ass out. But who gave Judas the 30 shekels? It was the Pharisees. And when you study who the Pharisees conspired with, it was the state. Why am I saying this? Everyone is saying it's the MK Ultra super soldier who killed Nipsey Hussle. Right? The guy named Eric Holder. And I find his name really ironic. When I heard his name was allegedly Eric Holder, because he never defended himself, so I don't know his side of the story, and everyone is calling for this guy's death. And I'm like, there's no court case yet. What does he have to say? Because it is alleged, he's saying, I was in another part of the city when this occurred. I saw the camera showing whoever killed Nip is far away. So we don't know. I said, let the guy go to court, if he lives, and tell his side of the story. Okay? I'm asking for cooler heads to prevail, because there's more to this story. Ironically enough, he tried to go to a mental institution, and the moment I heard mental institution, I said, this sounds like MK Ultra. I said, okay. The average black person doesn't understand these things. Because remember, this Christ consciousness, Nip Hustler, this Christ, and I'm calling him a Christ consciousness. And the reason why I'm calling him a Christ consciousness is this. The archetype of that Jesus Christ, Caesar Borgia, he said he came to the banger. That's the shot callers. That's what you call gang members. He came to the prostitute. He came to the thieves. That's who he came to so-called save. And this Nip, when he evolved consciously, he developed into a Christ consciousness. And that's who he was attempting to save. Unlike the many black people who get the goods and run away. And because a programmed MK Ultra assassin, a black super soldier, was used to kill him and derail the Christ consciousness, people are saying, when you get money, leave the hood. But here's what I'm saying. Michael Jackson died behind Pearly Gates. Should Michael Jackson have left Hollywood, Beverly Hills? Whitney Houston died behind the pearly gates of an expensive hotel. Should she have left the wealthy people around her? Prince was another one. They threw another Christ consciousness. Was he perfect? No. Bill Cosby into prison. Should Bill Cosby have remained in the ghetto? What's my point? My point is this. The wealthy have their Christ consciousness. And among the wealthy, they have their Judases. So because you get money and you move out of the hood, it means you won't have a Judas, you won't have a Pharisee, and you won't have a state who will plot to destroy you. Because you're middle class, does it mean that you won't be surrounded by Judases, you won't be surrounded by Pharisees, and you won't be surrounded by a state that's trying to destroy you? Because the talk is, oh, he went to help the poor, and it's the poor who killed him. And I say, what about the wealthy who get killed by their own? Should they have remained poor instead of becoming rich? What about middle-class people who get killed by middle-class people? Should they have become rich or poor instead of being middle-class? In all stratas of society, you will have your Judases. If you're rich, you will have your rich Judas trying to take you out. If you're middle class, you'll have your middle class Judases and your middle class Pharisees and your middle class Rome who will try to take you out. And when you're poor and you're a banger, you're gonna have your bangers who are gonna try to take you out. You're gonna have your banger Pharisees who try to take you out. You have your bangers from Rome, because that Bible said that Rome sent soldiers to capture Jesus. But everyone says it was only Judas who killed Jesus. What about the Pharisees? What about Rome? Judas didn't lift a finger to put Jesus in the grave. He only betrayed him for 30 pieces of silver. But it was Rome who beat the innocent man. It was Rome who crucified him on a cross at the behest of the Pharisees who didn't like what he was doing. What's the moral of the story of Nip? And I call him Nip because he's someone dear. He's someone, he's there. He's someone, I feel his spirit like he tried. And I feel him from the other side. And he's saying, I tried. He's saying, I tried. Unlike so many who were given the code, do not help them. Because they're given codes. When we give you this money, you must never turn around and help black people. And he said, I went against all of it. And I tried. His spirit still lingers. And he's sitting from the other side. Because I can see. And he's saying, I know they would have done this to me, but I had to do it. So gangbangers shouldn't have their own Christ. So the prostitutes shouldn't have their Christ come to them. So Christ should only come to the wealthy who can pay to have bodyguards, to give them the scheme of how to make it. So Christ should only come to the middle class, right? Because they got their Christ, which is the university, and their Christ, which is jobs that pay $100,000. They should have their Christ. But the bangers shouldn't have their Christ who look like them. So because the Christ came with tattoos on his face, and you know he put a couple of bodies in the grave, but his spirit evolved because his mind transcended the box they put him in. So he was able to spiritually evolve. And with the tattoos on his face and the tattoos on his body and the light in his soul, he went back to the people in the box to bring them up in all levels of your life, whether you're poor black people, whether you're middle class black people, whether you're rich. There will be a Judas who will sell you for 30 pieces of silver. Because you got your rich Judases. I encountered them. You got your wealthy Pharisees, black people. I encountered them. And you got your state agents, who the Pharisees will run to send you. They're Judases, who gladly take the 30 pieces of silver to put you on the cross. Whether you're middle class and you make $100,000, you will have your middle class Judas. You will have your middle class Pharisees. And you will have your middle class state agents who will work with your Pharisees to give Judas money to take you out. And everybody's saying, man, the hood, you got to leave the hood. You got to leave them behind. But do you know black people are the only people on the planet who actually, no other people group on the planet, talk about the ills of the hood community. We're the only ones who talk about it. I listen to all kinds of people. I listen to the far-right Nazis. I listen to the Zionists. I listen to the Muslims. I listen to everybody. Every other culture hide their problems. And black people are the only ones who say, we got this problem. We got to fix this problem. Black people are the only ones honest enough to say, we got problems and we got to fix it. These are your Christ. Then there are those who listen to the message and say, we got to go into the trenches. They may or may not be religious, but they got the Christ consciousness. And they go to the fallen and they say, look, whether they have tattoos and they put a couple bodies in the grave, they go back to them. Because I can't speak to the bangers now. They'll be like, girl, get the hell out of here. What do you know about my life? But Nip, he knew their language. Your own Bible, which I don't espouse, says to you, preach the gospel in every language. The bangers have their own language. And if you've never banged, you can't reach them. If you're not a banger, you can't reach them. You know why he reached them? You know why the whole state is crying over the Christ consciousness called Nip Hussle? Because he spoke their language. Because he evolved into Christ consciousness. And they saw an evolution in his Christ consciousness. And they saw a way out. And there are many voices saying, don't go back into that darkness. And I say, go back. Go back like Jesus went back to. I ain't saying go back thinking you're Jesus. I say go back with your 12 disciples. And always walk with your 12 disciples. And make sure your 12 disciples are packing heat. Because you know their language. You know they don't have critical thinking skills. Okay? Their mentality, because they're super soldiers, their mentality is threat, destroy the threat. And I'm telling you, the bangers are super soldiers. They're just programmed differently from the white super soldier. Just like they program Al-Qaeda and ISIS different from they program the Nazis. Just like they program the Nazi white supremacists are programmed differently from the bangers, the black gang bangers. They're programmed differently, but they're all goddamn super soldiers. All of them. I say, how you going to change the hood if you don't go back to fix it? But when you go back, you better roll up in there like Jesus with his 12 disciples and make sure your 12 disciples are packing heat because you know their language. You know their language. You know how they think. You know how when they encounter a threat, they don't talk it out. Their mind is programmed, threat, destroy it. Threat, annihilate it. So I say, go back. Because you're the only ones who can reach them. Who's going to reach them? Me? They're looking at me like, girl, get the hell out of here. You don't know the street. I don't know that language. But spiritually, why did he reach them? And pastors can't reach them. Because he knows their language. And they had to see him evolve. And when they saw him evolve, and the more light he got, the Pharisees saw the light and didn't like it. Rome saw the light. I'm speaking in parables here. So those of you who have eyes to see and ears to hear, you got to be able to decode what I'm saying. Rome saw the light and didn't like it. Rome saw the evolution of consciousness and didn't like it. And somewhere between Judah, the Pharisees, and Rome, the hit, money's passed, and the Judas was sent to take out the Christ consciousness of Nip Hussle. Because the cardinal rule was this: when we give you this money, you are never to go back and help. And he broke that rule. Many of you ask, how is it they don't help black people? Because they tell them, when we give you this money, you cannot go and help black people. And he broke one of the cardinal rules. Not only that, he was teaching them how to make legal money. Everything the Italian mob did, everything the Jewish mob did, everything the Russian mob did, which was to take at the turn of last century. They had illicit gain, whether from alcohol sales during Prohibition or prostitution. And what they did was they cleaned that money by putting it into legal businesses, and then began to show the people around them how to take so-called dirty money and turn the money clean. It's called money laundering today. But they did it. No one wants to tell you what the Italian mob did, what the Russian mob did, what the Jewish mob did, but everyone wants to point a picture at the black super soldiers who are the bangers. And many of them today came from the life of crime into the life of respectability. Why? Because they were given a four-sided square, which they couldn't get out of. And they were only limited to one side of the square, north, south, east, or west. They were in a square. And when you're in a square, and you're locked in a square, and you're only given 4 ways to get out, none of which is clean, lawful, and long-term. Short-term, sorry. Okay? Laws get broken. Unnecessary laws, if you ask me, get broken. Because they got to survive. But then they started telling them, you could take the money and do positive things. And you can transfer from darkness to light, from irrespectability to respectability. Black people, let no man fool you that when you get money, didn't your father, a lot of you worship Biggie Smalls, and I don't like violence, I don't like those lyrics, because to me that's witchcraft. That's casting spells. But didn't Biggie Smalls tell you who you worship? More money, more problems. You think Biggie Smalls' problem was just the bangers on the street who hated him? Why he said more money, more? He said, when he started making money, he said the Fed tapped my cell and my phone in the basement. And some of you are laughing at me like, how the hell does she know what Biggie Smalls said? I told you I listen to everybody because there's wisdom everywhere. You get wisdom from everything. I listen to the earth. I listen to the animals. I listen to the wind, sky, sun, moon. I listen to the Nazis, the Zionists. I listen to the buyers. I listen to everybody. I said because you find wisdom in the most unlikely of places. And Biggie Smalls said the more goddamn money is the more goddamn problem. You think he was just speaking about the bangers on the street who would take you out in the blink of an eye? He said the feds tapped my cell and my phone in the basement. Because when you start making money, the Judases don't go away. When you change income brackets, the Judases don't go away. The Pharisees don't disappear. And Rome, and in this context when I say Rome, I mean the state. The state don't lighten you up. They don't leave you alone. When you start making money, you got to declare your income. My point is this. He, with his tattoo and his background, was the only one who could reach those people. He was a Christ to them. And nobody else could reach them because he spoke their language. He knew how they think. The own Bible tells you, preach that gospel in every language. And that includes, I'm not preaching the Bible and preaching no Jesus. No. What I'm saying is, there is a language. And to get to certain people, you got to know that damn language. And he knew that street language. He knew that street code. And when he began to evolve, others saw, I could get out of this mess. And that light was a threat to the state. That light was a threat to the Pharisees. That light was a threat to the Judases. So anywhere you go, always remember, you're going to have your Judases. Whether your income bracket is under $50,000, whether your income bracket is between $50,000 and $500,000, whether your income bracket is $5,000 and $500,000 and above, you're going to have your Judases. You're going to have your Pharisees. Who are the Pharisees in this context? The Pharisees are the people who like the status quo. I like things the way they are because it works this way for me. And I don't want any Christ consciousness coming in here and disrupting my flow. And any Christ consciousness who walk up in here to disrupt my flow got to go. That's the Judases. That's the Pharisees. Then you got Rome. And Rome is like, okay, let the Pharisees do their thing. As long as there is peace, let the Pharisees do their thing. But if there's no peace and the Christ consciousness is going and flipping tables and turning things on their heads and people start waking up and, oh, whoa, Rome got to come in. Oh, no, Rome got to come in and put down his foot. Because wherever the Christ consciousness goes, shit changes. And the Pharisee spirit doesn't like change. No, we get our tithes on Sunday, and we know our tithes every Sunday averages this amount, and here comes this Christ consciousness turning our tables over and messing up our flow. You got to go, Christ. And Rome says, hey, we need peace. What is it going on here? That Christ comes and is preaching a message we never heard. Notice I didn't say Jesus. I said the Christ, the Christos, which is a concept older than Caesar Borgia, a concept older than this Pleiadian with his blonde hair and blue eyes. Okay? I don't have a problem with people with blonde hair and blue eyes. What I'm saying is that's a Pleiadian. Rome says, whoa. What's going on here? So Rome goes to the Pharisees. Hey, what's going on here? It's affecting our taxes. Well, this Christ consciousness came in, and the Christ consciousness wants to teach, the people of Jerusalem, they gotta eat a plant-based diet. Whoa! How is that gonna affect our agricultural sector? Is it gonna affect our meat production? The Christ consciousness is teaching them how to get into wheat distribution. Whoa! Rome says, wait, how is that if the Christ consciousness is telling them to get into legal weed, how is that going to affect our prison industrial system? And how is that going to affect our pharmaceutical stocks and profits? The Pharisees go to the Rome. This is an archetype now. What's going on in Jerusalem? Why is there no peace? This Christ consciousness is waking up the dead. What is he doing? He's calling for peace between the blue and the red. Whoa! So, if the Christ is calling for peace between the blue and the red, how will that affect our Roman soldiers? Are we going to have to slash the budget of the Roman soldiers? Because there'll be less Roman soldiers on the street policing Compton if there's a peace treaty between the blue and the red. And if we slash budget, that's less Roman soldiers on the street in Compton. This Christ consciousness, this is the Pharisees now complaining to Rome about what the Christ consciousness is doing. This Christ consciousness is buying up real estate. Oh! And he's teaching the poor people how to buy and own their own real estate. Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa. So he's teaching the poor how to own their own resources. How is that going to affect us when we purchase whole blocks for pennies on the dollar? Whoa! It leads me back to my final theory. The Christ consciousness will always be a disruptor. That's what they call in business. These are people who come in, okay, and they overturn tables because they can see something that Rome, the state, can't see, that the Pharisees can't see, that the Judases can't see. Because the Judases, the Pharisees, and the state like the status quo. I get my taxes. My taxes are this amount average. I get my stocks and my bonds, and my profit average this. And the Pharisees go, I get my tithes, but from my street hustle, I'm averaging XYZ every month, and then this is my street hustle. And the Christ consciousness, Nipsey, Hussle, comes in and says, you know there's other ways you can make money, right? Legally, and you won't have the state behind you. Whoa! How is this going to affect my street profit? And then the Pharisees say, how is this going to affect my tithe? And then the state says, how is this going to affect my taxes? Which leads me to my final theory, black people. My first theory is this. Whether you're poor, you're middle class, or you're wealthy, you're a wealthy black, you will always have a Judah, you will always have a Pharisee, and you will always have room on your ass. So anyone telling the banger who is a Christ, the former banger who is a Christ, don't go back to the hood because they'll kill you. I say this. Whitney Houston was killed behind pearly gates. So was Michael Jackson. Should they have left the pearly gates and stayed in the hood? In every strata, every time you change your income bracket, you're going to have a Judah. You're going to have a Pharisee. And you're going to have Rome on your ass. That's the first theory. The second theory is this. There's a Christ for every conscious level. He spoke the Christ consciousness language to the banger. And you know, none of you have the muscle, brain, or fortitude, me included, to speak the language of the banger. It's a fact. He did. He should have rolled up in there with his 12 disciples. He should have always been surrounded by his 12 disciples, and his 12 disciples should have been packing heat, because he should have known I know their language and how they think. I know they're programmed soldiers. They're programmed super soldiers. And any slight offense is heat. That's how they think. So he should have always been around his 12 disciples. That's me. And his 12 disciples should have been packing heat. That's just me. The last and final concept, black people, is this. GBS. GBS. You got to understand. Poverty is a business plan. Let me say this again. GBS family. Poverty, your poverty, is a business plan. Let me show you what I mean. Think of your poverty as a box that has 4 sides. And you're the product. You're saying to yourself, hey, because I'm poor, I am not a product in someone's eyes. Think again. When you're poor, you got 2 options. The long road or the short road. Follow me here. The long road is the long road out of poverty. It takes you about 12 years. You may have to forego having food sometimes. Forego the best clothes. Forego the best neighborhood. Forego the best friends for the long road out of poverty. And the long road out of poverty is stay in school, finish school. It takes about 12 years. Stay in school, finish school, whether it's higher education or trade. Okay? You may have to forego eating sometimes, but it's the long road out of poverty. How many do you think are going to take the long road? Find a legal job. And the legal job doesn't pay much. How many in that 4-sided square is going to take the long road out of poverty? Poverty is a business plan, and you're the product. The short road out of poverty. Okay? Food stamps. An illegal side hustle, because you got to put food on the table when the food stamps run out. And you're looking for a job, and the job can't even, you work, and the job can't even pay your rent. Okay? And this is before the age of the legal side hustle. This is the illegal side hustle. And you're in the square. Let me show you how you're a product in the black poverty business model. Now, poverty exists in all colors, but because I'm only talking to GBS, I'm using it in the context of GBS, Global Black Poverty. So you're in the 4th square. Let me show you the poverty business model. And you're in the 4th square. When you walk down the sidewalk, look at the sidewalk. The sidewalk was built with squares. Squares within squares within squares. And you're a tiny little square. And in that square, you're packed. You're literally packed with other products in the black poverty business model. Okay? You're packed in that tiny square. Okay? You're all within a certain income bracket. And I'm telling you, it's a business model, and you're the product. How many take the long road to freedom? And how many do? The short road to freedom. Let me show you how the business model works, where you're the product. When you're poor, more than likely you don't take care of your health. And you don't have access to good medical care. Right? So when you get sick, the hospitals prosper. That's one way you're a product. How many in the square take the short road to the illusion of freedom? What is that? You do drugs. The drugs are a product, right? But the other aspect of the drug being a product where you come in is that it's illegal. When you get caught by the police department get paid. There goes the product. When you get processed through the courts get paid. You're the product. When you go to jail for that drug, the jails make a profit off of you being a poor economic product. Let's look at if you're a banger. The illegal gun. Sometimes they dump it in crates. Nobody pays for it. But sometimes you got to pay for it. Okay? The guns become a product. You shoot your image and you kill your image. When they come to pick up your image that you shot, okay, the morticians get paid to process every one of your image that you shoot. The funeral parlors get paid to bury every one of your image that you shot. The police get paid to investigate every one of your image that you just put in the grave. You're a product. Let's say you shot them, but they didn't die. Let's show you the supply chain of you being a product. Let's say you shoot your image and your image didn't die. They go to the hospital. The doctors get paid to take out the bullet. You're a product. When you live, you're probably going to need medical services for the rest of your life. The pharmaceutical industry is making money off of you being permanently disabled. You're a product. And the police get paid because they got to investigate who shot you. You're a product. So the more you, black people, GBF, that's what I call us, Global Black Family, because this shit is everywhere. The more you choose the short road to the illusion of freedom, the more you make other people rich. You think the 100,000 you pull from the street is big money when all the different industries that make money off of global black poverty and the global black poverty business plan, it's a business plan and you're the product. The more money they make. So what's the solution? Nip, because to me he's a nip. There's something dear about this soul. Was a Christ consciousness, a disruptor, one of the few black Christ consciousness who went back to raise up other black Christ consciousness from them stop being the product and for them to start making products. In the global black poverty economic model, he began to show them, stop being the product and start making the product. And that was the key to your liberation and your salvation. Sell something and not be something. Do something on the long road to freedom instead of being a product in the black poverty business plan that you're the product and you make everybody rich except yourself. And Rome didn't like it. And the Pharisees didn't like it. And they got Judas, the black MK Ultra super soldier, to kill the Christ. And now the streets are talking. Every time we got a Christ, they kill the Christ. You know what? Get your money and run. But they all got their money and run. And they still get killed behind the pearly gate. Because the street ain't no good. But how many of them in Hollywood get killed behind the pearly gate? More of them get killed behind the pearly gate. More of them get killed in their heaven than the few who get killed in their hell when they go back. You don't need to lift up heaven. When you get your money and you're in a certain income bracket, they don't need to be lifted up. The Christ in that Bible said this message is to the poor because they need lifting up. The rich already got their soothsayers. They could pay for their billion-dollar lawyers. But it's the poor that need lifting up. Now here's what I say. Here's the solution. Okay? Lord, poverty is a business plan. And Rome gets its taxes off of the poverty business plan where you're the product. The Pharisees are the administrators of the global black economic business plan where you're the product. And in all levels, they got their administrators, whether it's your jealous bangers on the street, whether it's those who are sent to keep the peace. The Pharisees are to keep the peace between the poor and the rich. Don't disrupt too much, because Rome going to send a soldier. Don't be a disruptor. I'm telling you from experience, I invented the iPod and the Kindle. They sent the Judases. They sent the Pharisees. They sent the state. Telling you, no matter your income bracket, you're going to have Judases. You're going to have your Pharisees. And you're going to have Rome on your ass. Whether you're a banger on the street, you're a preacher in a church, you're an imam in a mosque, or a priest in a synagogue, whether you're holy or you're unholy, whether you're righteous or you're not, you're going to have your Judases, you're going to have your Pharisees, and you're going to have Rome on your ass. But in the black global, the black poverty business model, the key to it is this: control, control, control. Control everything around you as an individual and as a collective. Because that's the game that they play. I taught you that. In entrepreneurship, they don't want to own the asset, your ass. They want to control the asset. Because if you own it, they know there's a bunch of tax liabilities that comes with ownership. They know there's a bunch of liabilities. There should be all sorts of external factors and internal factors when you own assets. So the game is control. You see yourself. When you're poor, you look at your life and say, in my poverty, who am I making rich? If your health ain't good, you're making someone rich. If you're involved in crime, oh, you're making a whole bunch of people rich. If you don't have a job, a whole bunch of people get rich. Take back control. If, and I'm not downing single mothers. People are single mothers for many reasons. But you don't want to be in a situation. This is for future single mothers. I'm not going to curse out single mothers and throw them under the bus. People make mistakes. But it's better if you have two parents in the home because it's more control over your child's destiny. That's all I'll say about that. And if you don't have kids, make it a law. I'm not going to have kids without two parents because two parents is better control over the child. And in this day and age, you got to control a lot of what your children do. Because it ain't easy out here. The game is control. I'm teaching you that secret. Control, control, control. See yourself when you're poor. Am I a product that makes someone rich? Or will I create a product to make me rich? The game is control. And you got to determine, am I somebody's product in the global black poverty business plan? It's not even a plan, it's an economic model. In the global black poverty economic model, am I somebody's product? Or am I going to create a product to make myself capital? Or am I going to be capital and someone's ass? Am I going to be an asset? Or am I going to be an ass? Am I going to create a product or a service and have assets? Or am I going to be an ass? That's the moral of the story. Have a wonderful day. And Lance, the Skir family, thank you. Bye.
Make sure to check out the boldest blog at lancescurv.com and follow Scurv on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube under Lance Scurv.